And let me take this opportunity to introduce each one to you. We have a very renowned filmmaker, entrepreneur, media producer, innovator, systems research, and also the founder of the Mumbai-based New Media Studios System Think Tank, Memes Culture Club. Please join me welcoming Mr. Anand Gandhi. Requesting Sir Subhash to give a memento to Mr. Anand Gandhi and do the honors, please. Yes, we also have a game designer, writer, system thinker, and a new media creator who has co-created Shasan Azadi, a board game that launches players into biggest revolutions across history. Please join me welcoming Mr. Abhishek Lamba, please. Yes, a huge round of applause. We also have amongst us a writer, researcher, and a game designer. Can we give a huge round of applause to welcome Mr. Madhir Dhige. I beg your pardon, Madhir Dhige. And we also have a writer, game designer, and new media storyteller amongst us for this panel discussion. Please put your hands together and welcome Mr. Ayush Asthana, please. Once again, a huge round of applause for the entire panel.
Hi everyone. Thanks for coming by. This is a very, from here on, it's a very formal conversation. We didn't plan for this. We were very graciously invited by the ADG the other day, and they asked me if I could put together a conversation with the young thinkers and creators of Goa, and I thought, what better than the wonderful young creators at Memesis speak to them directly. I feel very increasingly and exponentially outdated by the emergence of new media and the new method, the new ways of transmitting human wisdom, the ways of transmitting human insights that we have been inventing in the last few years. And you'd hear more of those methods in media from these wonderful creators today. So you've just been introduced to them. That's Zain Memon, who can take my gift. He wasn't there one. Zain, some of you might know, is the rock star. He's the poster boy of game design in the region. He's the most celebrated game designer in the country, one of the most celebrated game designers in the world today. He's the one source of inspiration for all of us. We learn constantly from him. He has, I often say, if the Buddha was around today, he would perhaps have been a filmmaker or a game designer. He would have used the most powerful medium at his disposal to impact change and impact people's lives, and that today is game design and motion picture. I won't even say cinema anymore, to be honest. I think it's moved on from cinema. It's whatever you call it. It doesn't probably have a name yet. It's social media. I just finished making 5 minutes ago. I finished making my first 1-minute reel, cinematic vertical reel, and it was a completely new experience. And that's really the emergence of new media. And that's what we're going to be talking today. We have wonderful creators, exponents of the field, incredible creators, inspiring me constantly. So you're going to hear more from them than from me. In any case, those of you who have just wandered in without even expecting anything, you are in for a good surprise in any case. हाँ जी ज़ेन मेमन, हाँ मैंने अभी कर दिया प्रेजेंटेशन। अरे अब ये कहाँ तक जाएंगे? Let's keep it informal, let's keep it flowing. हम सब एक ही जगह रहते हैं। ऐसा लगेगा कि हम लोग ने मतलब इनके के सारे अवार्ड जीत लिए।
I think so. We just missed one very special personality among the panelists. He's a storyteller, media specialist, game designer, and producer. He's amongst us, Mr. Zain Menon. Can you have a huge round of applause for Mr. Zain? May I request Sir Anand Ravi to give him a mantle and felicitate him maybe. You have the... It's once again a huge round of applause for Mr. Zain Menon, please. Yes, thank you. Now you can take over, sir.
All good. So let's jump straight into it. And let's keep it formal, informal. So if anyone wants to ask any questions, interrupt us at any point, just go for it. We don't want to be preachers perched upon a platform trying to enlighten everyone. We want to have a conversation with all of you, and that's why we are here. So let's jump into the first most primary question, and Anand, this one's for you. Let's start with you, and then why do we tell stories, and what are stories? And as a storyteller, what is our primary job?
So the first person who ever made a cave painting was telling a story. It was a mother perhaps telling the story to her children about what is safe to hunt, what happens when a horde of bisons come running your way, and how to avoid it, how to tell poisonous mushrooms from mushrooms that you can eat. These are what cave paintings were about. So early stories were simultaneously science, was the knowledge that an individual or a community had gathered and collected and had to invent a method to pass on this knowledge to the next generation, so that the next generation does not commit the same mistakes as they did. So it was simultaneously science, it was simultaneously philosophy, it was simultaneously the particular unique experience of that person at that point in time. It was all of that. And as we evolved, as the civilization evolved over the last 10,000 years, we invented more media. We went from cave painting to Renaissance, three-dimensional painting. From there we went to photography. From photography to motion photography, to cinema. We kept evolving our methods and our tools to replicate reality with higher and higher fidelity. To make copies, to make documents of reality with greater and greater accuracy. And as we did that, as we invented media that could replicate our reality, replicate the world around us with greater and greater accuracy, with greater and greater fidelity, we also found methods of converting the interiority of our experience. इंसान की आत्मा एक तो होता है कि आपने छवि बना ली आपके आसपास में. हिंदी में शिफ्ट कर रहा हूँ. मुझे लग रहा है कि कुछ ऑडियंसेस होंगे जो चाहेगी कि हम हिंदी और अंग्रेजी दोनों में बातें करें, तो हम I'll keep shifting to Hindi also. We'll probably be repeating ourselves a bit, so that's I don't think you're going to miss anything अगर आप हिंदी नहीं समझते हो तो.
हिंदी में बात कीजिए सर.
हाँ जी, बहुत धन्यवाद जी. तो एक तो है कि आप छवि बनाते हो दुनिया की. तो सबसे पहली जो केव पेंटिंग्स बनी वो, और सबसे पहले जो अक्षर बने, सबसे पहली जो छवियां बनी, सबसे पहले जो चित्र बने, वो छवियां हैं. आसपास की दुनिया का एक रिकॉर्ड है. पर वो सिर्फ आसपास की दुनिया का रिकॉर्ड नहीं है, उसके साथ साथ वो एक अंदरूनी दुनिया का भी रिकॉर्ड है. उस इंसान को क्या अनुभव हुए हैं, क्या अनुभूतियां हुई है, उसका भी एक रिकॉर्ड है साथ में. तो हम कहानियां एक दूसरे को इसलिए बताते हैं कि हम आसपास की दुनिया, हमारे विचार, हमारी अनुभूतियां, हमारे तथ्य, हमारे ज्ञान आने वाली पीढ़ी तक पहुंचा सके, और उसके साथ साथ ये पॉसिबिलिटी बना सके कि वो हमसे आगे जा सके. वो उनको अगर हमने 6000 साल लगा के पहिए बनाए हैं, तो उनको पहिया ना बनाना पड़े, वो सीधे रॉकेट बनाए और चंद्रमा पे निकले. तो ये कहानी का जो लक्ष्य है, कहानी माध्यम का जो जिम्मेदारी है, वो विजडम को पास ऑन करने की है, वो इनसाइट्स को पास ऑन करने की है, वो वार्निंग्स को, चेतावनियों को पास करने की, एक पीढ़ी से दूसरी पीढ़ी चेतावनी को आगे ले जाने की जो माध्यम है, उसे हम स्टोरी कहते हैं, उसे हम कहानी कहते हैं. अभी कहानी का माध्यम बहुत इवॉल्व हो चुका है, बहुत बदल चुका है. जैसे मैंने कहा कि एक ज़माने में केव पेंटिंग हुआ करती थी, किसी ज़माने में श्रुति हुआ करती थी, श्रोता स्रोत कहानी बताई जाती थी, लिखाई आई, पढ़ाई आई, चित्रकला आई, फोटोग्राफी आई, मोशन फोटोग्राफी, सिनेमा आया, वीआर आया, वर्चुअल रियलिटी आया। अभी एक नई भाषा उत्पन्न हुई है, एक नई भाषा इमर्ज हुई है जिसे हम गेम कहते हैं, गेम डिजाइन कहते हैं। हम आज इन नए नए माध्यमों के बारे में बात करेंगे, नए संकेतों के बारे में आज बात करने आए हैं, और ये हमारे साथ क्रिएटर्स हैं जो इसके बारे में बात करेंगे।
There are two things I want to add. One is now all of us live wonderful, amazing experiences in our lives, and we all want the next generation or our peers to know what we have experienced. And even I'll keep shifting back and forth between Hindi and English. But how do you pick and choose between what is relevant, what is insightful, what is enlightening, and what is the mundane, and what is not a new part of the conversation? How do you storyteller's job is to live through their own lives and lives of everyone around them, and pick and choose and curate from the past stories that the future will celebrate or be aware of. But before that, I want to ask Mandir. Now, Mandir has been working with us for a while. She is the foremost expert in the narrative structures of Indian epics of her generation. And Mandir, if I were to ask
इनका नाम मंदिर और ये हमारी मिथोलॉजी की एक्सपर्ट है, एब्सोल्युटली।
Mandir, what is mythology? Why is it created? Why is it relevant? Could you help us with that?
Yeah, mythology is this on? So I think mythology is obviously an emergent thing. It's always happening. What we are creating is also mythology. Mythology is a condensation of wisdoms and insights and ideas that a culture and the people have gathered over a long period of time, encapsulated in a way that is consumable, that is easy to inherit and to pass on to younger generations, so that you can make it, so that, you know, lessons and models and stories that we are taught by like our parents and our grandmoms. These are all like, I mean, they're taught using the medium of mythology and of stories from the epics. And
Yeah, that's very interesting because yeah, and that's very interesting because it's if anyone who's been through school, going through a geography textbook or a history textbook and just learning data points is the most annoying thing that we have ever encountered. Stories and mythologies and metaphors that they form make it a very consumable way for everyone, be it 7 years or 70 years old, to understand the SAR, the core idea behind what is going to be conveyed.
इसके बारे में एक बात करना चाहूँगा। मैं 6 साल का था तब मैंने पहली बार ये गीत सुना कि भूमि से भारी क्या है, कौन काजल से काला। ये गीत मैंने पहली बार सुना और चलता रहता है ये गीत, आगे भी बढ़ता है कि भूमि से भारी कौन है, कौन काजल से काला, हवा से तेज कौन है वगैरह। और कवि ने उसके इन सवालों के उत्तर दिए, इसी गीत में लिखे हैं उत्तर, जहाँ पे वो कहते हैं कि भूमि से भारी पाप है, काजल से काला कलंक, हवा से तेज सोच है मेरी। तो मैं 6 साल का था जब पहली बार मैंने सुना, और मुझे लगा कि मैं ऐसा एक दृश्य देख पाया हूँ, ऐसा एक दर्शन कर पाया हूँ जो शायद किसी ने मेरे पहले किया नहीं। मैं दौड़ते हुए सबके पास गया, मैंने कहा ये पता है आप ये कर सकते हो, आप ऐसी एक अनुभूति जिसको आप बयान नहीं कर सकते हैं, उसको जोड़ सकते हो किसी चीज के साथ जिसका अनुभव हो सकता है। कलंक ऐसी अनुभूति है, सोच एक ऐसा अनुभव है जिसको आप कैसे बयान कर पाओगे। पर आप जैसे ही कहते हो कि हवा से तेज है, आप उसको जैसे ही प्रमाण देते हो, जैसे ही आप उसको एक जगह देते हो, जैसे उसे क्वांटिफाई करते हो, आप you can immediately associate something that is abstract and qualitative with something that is quantitative and quantifiable, and suddenly it starts making sense and you can transmit it in this way. तो आपका जो सवाल है, आपने कहानी तो सुनी होगी कि 6 अंधे इंसान हाथी को स्पर्श कर रहे हैं और एक दूसरे से लड़ रहे हैं। कोई कह रहा है कि मैं जिस प्राणी के स्पर्श में हूँ वो एक स्तंभ जैसा है, नहीं, वो कह रहा है नहीं ये तो सांप जैसा है क्योंकि वो पूंछ पकड़े हुए हैं। कोई कह रहा है कि नहीं ये तो बड़े पंखे जैसा है, वो कान पकड़े हुए हैं। और ये सभी अपने अपने असत्य को सही तरीके से एक दूसरे को बयां कर रहे हैं, अपनी अपनी अनुभूतियों का सच बता रहे हैं, झूठ नहीं बोल रहे हैं किसी से। पर सत्य क्या है? सत्य सिंथेसिस है, यानी सत्य ये सारी अनुभूतियों को आप मिला दो। आप एक बड़े से अजगर के बाजू में के नजदीक आप एक बड़ा सा पंखा लगा दो जो ऐसे ऐसे हिल रहा है, उसके बाजू में एक बड़ी दीवार लगा दो, उसके नीचे 4 स्तंभ लगा दो, उसके पीछे एक सांप लगा दो, तो आपको हाथी जैसा कुछ दिखने लगता है। तो सत्य जो है वो एक हाथी है, और हम सब सत्य की छोटी छोटी परिभाषाएं, छोटे छोटे प्रमाण सोच पाते हैं, देख पाते हैं। और रूपक एक ऐसी चीज है, ये कह पाना कि भूमि से भारी पाप है, तो ये जो रूपक है एक ऐसी सुविधा है इंसानों को, कहानी एक ऐसी सुविधा है इंसानों को कि जिसका स्पर्श भी नहीं हुआ है, जिसकी अनुभूति भी नहीं है, उसको भी आप ये बता सको कि भाई हाथी ऐसा कुछ होता है, क्योंकि उसको कभी ना कभी शायद पंखे का स्पर्श हुआ होगा, कभी सांप का स्पर्श हुआ होगा, कभी स्तंभ का स्पर्श हुआ होगा। तो इन सारी चीजों को मिला के आप उसे एक हाथी का चित्र उसकी कल्पना में उत्पन्न कर सकते हो। और वो रूपक की जो सुविधा है वो कहा जाता है कि मेटाफर इज द कॉर्नरस्टोन ऑफ ह्यूमन कॉग्निशन। ये जो एबिलिटी है कि जो रूपक बना पाने की और जो एबिलिटी है वो समझा जाता है आज न्यूरो साइंस में कि इट्स द कॉर्नरस्टोन। ये स्तंभ है, ये इंसानी सोच का फाउंडेशन है। तो हम इसके बारे में और चर्चा कर रहे हैं।
Now, again, like you said, everyone has their own truth, and to add to Anand's examples, when Shakespeare says Juliet is like the sun, he doesn't mean Juliet is a hot fission reactor. Everyone understands what he means in their own understanding of when Shakespeare uses the metaphor of Juliet being like the sun. But how do you pick your metaphors? How do you pick your stories? How do you make sure that when you are telling a story, you're making the world, for lack of a better term, a better place, a more equitable place? Ayush, if you want, Ayush is one of the core writers at Nemesis and has participated in writing some of our most ambitious stories. Ayush, when you're picking what to curate in a story and what to say, what to not say, how do you do it and what's the process?
It's actually a great question, and I think that's at the heart of what storytelling really is about. Like everybody here has tried to explain so beautifully. Stories are essentially a continuous map that we keep building. They are how we, when you sit down to write a story, you're doing one of 3 things. You're either recording the past, you're recollecting the past, you're making sense of the past, or you are deconstructing the present that you live in. You're looking at the complex world around you and you're trying to explain it. You're trying to see how these vast systems interact with each other, how they influence our behavior. And similarly, you're also trying to do that for your own inner world. Each of us have these vast, complex experiences that kind of comprise this vague thing that we call the human experience that is at once so vast and so inexplicable, and that's why storytellers are still trying to transcribe and translate that experience into different ways. The third thing that you're doing, which even I think Anand had touched about, is you're hypothesizing the future. In a cave painting, the mother was trying to tell the child, if you ever see a lion, do not go towards it. That is how you will keep yourself safe. But our world has become incredibly complex now, and the problems that we face are no longer just lions or hunger. You know, we have supermarkets and we have zoos, unfortunately. But the problems that we are staring down the barrel of require vast human imagination to kind of even formulate and predict. And that is why we tell stories. That is why we build dystopias. That is why we tell utopian stories. We try to paint a picture for what the future could look like, or we try to warn our inheritors what they could be up against. So when you consider this context of what your responsibility is as a storyteller, you're more than just an entertainer. You know, stories are universal as just a facet of human culture. We all tell stories. We're also trying to shape civilization when we tell them. So the questions that we ask ourselves as creators and storytellers are so incredibly important. What story are you going to tell? Whose story are you going to tell? Why are you telling it? You know, I think Zen talked about how it's so important to also tell your story. It's that's something I think I think Abhishek would be a good person to kind of talk about. But before I just hand it over to you, I think I just want to kind of underline this idea that we need to be responsible about the stories that we choose to tell. Whose voice are we choosing to uplift? Whose story are we not telling? And where do we want to direct the imagination of our species when we talk about shaping the future, understanding our present, and recollecting our past? So Abhishek is actually an incredible writer and game designer as well. He is the co-creator of Shasan Azadi, which is a beautiful, incredible game, and I'll let Abhishek talk about that a little bit more. But in gamifying that experience of revolution and politics, Shasan Azadi is a follow-up to the game that Zen had created called Shasan, which we had all developed, which was about understanding the state of our world and our political systems. Azadi took that one step further by telling the stories of revolutions across the world. It's essentially the story of freedom. So Abhishek, when it came to telling our own story, how did you approach that?
Thanks for the eloquent question. It's always hard to follow you up, but I'll try my best. So, we are here celebrating 75 years of Azadi. And when I look back at India's history of filmmaking post-independence, I think of, okay, what are stories that we have told about our freedom struggle? We have such a rich legacy of political and economic thought, of social thought from leaders like Savitribai Phule to Kamla Devi Chattopadhyay. But what have we done after we inherited that legacy? And I think of the film Gandhi, which was obviously made by a Britisher. And I'm like, that's strange, this is our story. Why is our story literally being told by somebody who comes from the place the land that oppressed us? And Azadi began with that thought, that we need to tell our own story. To inspire a generation, you need to inspire them with stories. You need to tell them first that they can create their own stories. And that was the inception of Azadi, which I co-created along with my mentor Zen and Samvit and Kriti, a game designer, they're here today too. So that's a shout out to them. And yeah, that's where Azadi came from. And games are a very interesting medium. I find them a very interesting medium for learning because unlike other linear forms of storytelling, games give you the unique chance to become a part of the story. So if you've ever wondered why every teenager in India is playing PUBG or Fortnite, it's because every time they jump into a game of PUBG or Fortnite, it's a whole new story for them. It's 30 minutes of who knows what will happen. And that's because games offer you something that other mediums don't, which is meaningful choice. And I think, Zen, you can maybe build on that a bit more.
So my entire career, I have come across, and people have brought this up to me as the kid in the candy store who wants to play with the latest media technology there is. I like to call myself media agnostic. I have no particular love for films or for games or for any medium as such. What I really like doing is finding the right medium to tell the story I want to tell. And that medium might change tomorrow. Tomorrow it might, once we have brain-computer interfaces, I might be able to just draft a memory and put it into your brain, and that's what I'll be doing then. But why games? What is so fascinating and unique about games that we couldn't have done in cinema? Because again, we have been making films for over a decade now. And this is something that Anand and I started talking about. The question we asked ourselves was a primary question, is why do we play games? Games have spontaneously erupted in all civilizations across the planet. And the question is, what is the evolutionary purpose, if any, of games? And to answer the question, Anand brought on a very interesting point, which was that humans are not the only species that play. Kittens play. If you've ever seen kittens or puppies, they play with each other. And any higher order mammal plays with each other. So there has to be a very, very core fundamental reason for play to have been naturally selected in so many species across time. And the reason is this. The world we live in, the world we inhabit, is very, very high stakes. Every day is either hunting or being hunted. And if you do it wrong, you might not survive. Now, how do I practice for this in an environment that is not as dangerous as the real world? You reduce the stakes and you act it out. And that acting out is called play. Which is why we play tag as children, because humans 100,000 years ago were hunter-gatherers who had to run away or chase species they were cohabiting the environment with. So play evolved as basically a learning tool to incentivize us to survive. But in the last 10,000 years, since the invention of agriculture and civilization, the world we inhabit is not the same world we evolved in. The world we inhabit doesn't require you to hunt. It doesn't require you to be safe from hunting. It requires you to know how the stock market works. It requires you to look at a large matrix of behavior patterns or red flags while picking your mating partners. It requires you to know what to study and what career to choose. And these are very, very complex questions. But our basic biology, which wants us to learn, is not equipped with the tools to learn these things. So what do? We drop children in lines and make them look at a wall and tell them this, what's written on this wall will help you survive. How? You will realize that in 15 to 20 years.
Sorry, quick show of hands for people who feel like their education has greatly benefited them. Sorry, continue.
That's very nice.
Yeah, and education does benefit, but the education we have right now is the post-industrial era, mass-produced workers for factories kind of education. You need to know instructions to work a machine. You don't need to equip yourself. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
Do you really think that gaming is a
Yes.
alternative way of...
Yes, gaming is the biological tool that incentivizes. So when you start playing a game, your body is saying, okay, this is good for you. Because your body still thinks that you are in the savanna forest hunting. Our genome has not evolved. Evolution is a very, very slow and time-consuming process. But we are not in savanna anymore, we are in a very, very complex world. So games now need to simulate this complex world. A complex choice like who should you vote for? At least 100 variables that you need to account for. Short-term, long-term, everything. That's why we built a game called Shasan. We put you in the politician's seat and we make you understand how political systems work and where they are broken. Not because we want to make you vote in a particular way. No, we just want to make sure you vote in an informed way and understand how the system works. And that's what we should be doing. We should just piggyback on the biological frameworks of fun. And
So ये अक्सर होता है कि बच्चों को खेलना है हर वक्त और पेरेंट्स बोलते हैं बेटा बच्चे खेलना बंद करो, खेलकूद बंद करो, चलो काफी खेलकूद हो गई, अभी पढ़ाई करो। पर बच्चे कहते हैं कि नहीं हमें तो खेलना ही है, हमें पढ़ाई नहीं करनी है, खेलना ही है। अभी ये डाइकोटोमी है, ये क्यों है? ये इसलिए है क्योंकि पेरेंट को पता है कि खेलकूद से आप दुनिया नहीं समझोगे। जो दुनिया की जो हकीकत है उसको समझने के लिए तो आपको पढ़ाई करनी पड़ेगी। पढ़ाई में आप जब टेक्स्ट बुक्स पढ़ोगे तो आपको पता चलेगा कि भाई पृथ्वी इतनी विशाल है, आपको पता चलेगा कि रॉकेट कैसे उड़ता है, आपको पता चलेगा कि ब्रिज कैसे बनता है, आपको पता चलेगा कि लोग किस प्रकार से बातें करते हैं और किस प्रकार से जंग लड़ते हैं। आप ये सब पढ़ाई करोगे तब आपको पता चलेगा दुनिया के बारे में। आप जैसे खेलकूद करोगे उससे पता नहीं चलेगा। पर बच्चे कहते हैं नहीं हम तो खेलकूद ही कर रही है। तो ये क्यों हो रहा है? ये इसलिए हो रहा है, ज़ेन ने अभी जो बात कही उसको मैं थोड़ा और हिंदी में भी एक बार बता देता हूँ, हिंदी भाषा के लिए यहाँ पे, कि हर प्राणी खेलता है। हर प्राणी का जो बच्चा होता है वो खेलता है। कुत्ते के पिल्ले खेलते हैं, बिल्ली के पिल्ले खेलते हैं, शेर के पिल्ले खेलते हैं। हर प्राणी के बच्चे खेलते हैं। क्यों खेलते हैं? ये खेल क्यों है? सिर्फ इंसान के बच्चे खेलते हैं ऐसा नहीं है, हर प्राणी के बच्चे खेलते हैं। क्यों खेलते हैं? इसलिए खेलते हैं क्योंकि खेल जो है एक बहुत ही सेफ जगह पे ले जाकर दुनिया के पार्ट्स सीखने का तरीका है। कुत्ते खेलते हैं कि डेंजर से भागना कैसे है, पिल्ले खेलते हैं कि हंट कैसे करना है, खाना कैसे लेके आना है, एक दूसरे के साथ खाना कैसे शेयर करना है, खाने की एक दूसरे के साथ किस बात पे लड़ाई करनी है, किस बात पे लड़ाई नहीं करनी है, ये खेल सिखाता है। तो खेल नेचर का बनाया हुआ एजुकेशन है, नेचर की बनाई हुई एक स्कूल है जो हर प्राणी का बच्चा उस स्कूल से गुजरता है, जिसे खेल कहते हैं। खेलने के बाद, बहुत सारे खेल करने के बाद, हाइड एंड सीक, पकड़ा पकड़ी, छिपम छिपी, ये सब चीज सीखने के बाद प्राणी सीख जाता है कि भाई कहीं से कोई जानवर आ रहा हो जो आपको खा सकता है तो उसे छिपना कैसे, कोई जानवर ऐसा भाग रहा हो जो आपकी खुराक है तो उसे पकड़ना कैसे, दोस्तों के साथ क्या बांटना है, भाइयों बहनों के साथ क्या बांटना है, ये प्राणी सीख जाता है खेलते खेलते, और फिर वो तैयार हो जाता है दुनिया में उतरने के लिए, जंगल में उतरने के लिए। पर ये कहानी है जंगल राज की। जंगल राज में नहीं है हम जिंदा है जंगल राज के ऊपर एक परत बनाकर, जिसे हम सिविलाइजेशन कहते हैं, जिसे हम समाज कहते हैं, एक आधुनिक समाज जिसे कहते हैं। एक आधुनिक समाज क्या होता है कि जहाँ पे हम एक दूसरे का ध्यान रख सकते हैं, एक दूसरे का ख्याल रख सकते हैं, हम साथ मिलकर एक ऐसी जगह बना सकते हैं जहाँ पे हमें एक दूसरे को मारने की जरूरत नहीं रहती, हमें किसी चीज को भी मारने की जरूरत नहीं रहती। कोशिश तो ये होती है समाज की, हर समाज की कोशिश, एक मिनट में आता हूँ आपके पास, हर समाज की कोशिश होती है कि समाज को उस जगह तक ले जाए कि जहाँ पे इक्वालिटी हो, अंत्योदय हो, आखिरी से आखिरी इंसान का भी उदय हो, उसके पास भी वो सुविधाएं हो, वो साधन हो, वो संसाधन हो जो सबसे अमीर इंसान के पास भी है। ये समाज चाहते हैं। तो ये कैसे बनाया जाए? उसके लिए ब्रिज बनाने पड़ेंगे, उसके लिए खुराक, एग्रीकल्चर बनाना पड़ेगा, एग्रीकल्चर के लिए इंडस्ट्री बनानी पड़ेगी, शिपिंग बनानी पड़ेगी, रॉकेट साइंस बनाना पड़ेगा, ये सब विज्ञान बनाने पड़ेंगे ताकि ये जो इतनी बड़ी जनसंख्या है, 700 करोड़ इंसान जो है इस पृथ्वी पर, उनको ये सारे संसाधन मिले जो सबसे अमीर जो 1% है उसके पास है आज के टाइम, और कोशिश हो कि सब मिलके सबका उदय साथ में हो। तो ये कैसे होगा? ये तो जंगल राज के कानून सीखने से नहीं होगा, ये तो जंगल राज के खेल से सीखने से नहीं होगा। इसलिए हमने पढ़ाई का इन्वेंशन किया, हमने एक ऐसी टेक्नोलॉजी बनाई पिछले 3-4 हज़ार सालों में, जहाँ पे जैसे ज़ेन ने कहा कि हम बच्चों को बिठा देते हैं और एक अर्धवेय इंसान आके उसे दिन रात पकाता है, और उन्हें पकाता है और कहता है कि भाई ये सुन लो, ये सुन लो। अभी जो बातें बदल चुकी है, जो रोज बदल रही है, वो डॉगमेटिक बन जाती है, क्योंकि और वो अच्छा सोल्यूशन था। मैं ये नहीं कह रहा हूँ आपने जैसे हाथ खड़ा किया, आपने सही हाथ खड़ा किया, मैं भी हाथ खड़ा करता हूँ। मैं एजुकेशन से, पढ़ाई से मेरा भी फायदा हुआ है आज, इसलिए आपके समक्ष यहाँ प्रस्तुत हुआ, पर वो फायदा जो था बहुत कम था। उसका रीजन ये कि वो जो भाषा है, हमारी एजुकेशन की जो भाषा थी पिछले 2000 साल में, वो बहुत ही उसकी सीमा बहुत छोटी थी। उसका कारण ये है कि नेचर ने हमें इस तरह से बनाया है कि खेल कूद के पढ़ाई करें हम, पर जो पढ़ाई की जो भाषा है वो पैसिव है। 100 लोगों को क्लासरूम में बिठा के एक बोलता जाएगा, सब सो जाएंगे, बोलता जाएगा, उसमें 4 लोगों को समझ में आएगा क्या हो रहा है, 96 लोगों को समझ में नहीं, मुझे 100 में से 4 निकालने में 4 मिनट लगे, समझ में नहीं आएगा क्या हो रहा है। तो उसका आज हमारे पास एक सोल्यूशन है। आज तक वो सोल्यूशन बहुत क्लियर नहीं था। हमने उस सोल्यूशन को पिछले 20-30 साल में इसके बारे में बातें हुई है कि कोई कहते हैं खिलौने दे दो, कोई कहते हैं कि मैथ के पजल्स के खिलौने दे दो तो मैथ सीख जाएंगे, तो ब्रिज बनाना सीख जाएंगे। ऐसा हो नहीं पाया ठीक से। आज हमारे पास वो संसाधन है, और वो संसाधन ये है कि जो चीजें, जो अनुभव, जो अनुभूतियां युवाओं को पबजी खेलने में होती है, वही अनुभूतियां अगर हो उनको नए विचार हासिल करने में, नया ज्ञान हासिल करने में, कि वो इस तरह से उनको मैनूवर किया जाए, उस तरह से उनके लिए एक पाथ बनाया जाए कि उनको लगे कि वो खेल कूद रहे हैं, खेलते कूदते वो जो हमारे पास जो हमारा ज्ञान है, जो हमारे पूरे समाज के सबसे बड़ा विज्ञान है हमारे पास, जो सबसे बड़ा ज्ञान है, वो उनको हासिल हो जाए खेलते कूदते। तो ये कैसे हो सकता है? हमारी जो अभ्यास की भाषा है, जो 2000 साल लगे हैं जिसको बनने में, उस भाषा को अभी हमें उसका अनुवाद करना है एक नई भाषा में जो अभी अभी हमारे पास हासिल हुई है, जिसे हम गेमिफिकेशन कहते हैं। तो ज़ेन जो बात कर रहे हैं उस गेमिफिकेशन की है, गेमिफिकेशन ऑफ एजुकेशन की है, गेमिफिकेशन ऑफ एवरीथिंग की है, कि कैसे कैसे इंसानी जो भावनाएं हैं, खुशी की, दुख की, पेन की, एंजाइटी की, वार्निंग की, इन भावनाओं का इस्तेमाल करके एक नई भाषा बनाई जाए जिसमें ज्ञान हासिल हो, जिसके अंदर उसके बारे में बात कर रहे हैं और वो हम कर चुके हैं। आज शासन मैं बता देता हूँ, जैसे यहाँ पे कौन कौन जानता है शासन के बारे में? गेम, ओह वाह, वी हैव अ शासन ऑडियंस हियर, ओके, आई डोंट नीड टू गिव अ बिगर इंट्रोडक्शन। मुझे लगा कि शायद अपने ऑडियंस तक पहुंची नहीं होगी। तो हमारी जो फिल्में हैं वो तो आप तक पहुंची होगी, अभी शासन भी पहुंच रही है, हमारी गेम्स भी पहुंच रही है लोगों तक। जैसे आई थिंक दैट वी बिगर शो ऑफ हैंड्स विद फिल्म्स, जो हमने फिल्में बनाई है, तुम्बाड़ किसने देखी है? शिप ऑफ थीसियस किसने देखी है? अच्छा, ये भी फिल्म फेस्टिवल की ऑडियंस है और शासन भी देखी है, बहुत बढ़िया।
So you got a question, yes.
First of all, Anand and the team, thanks for putting this together, a lovely conversation. And I'm just looking around, I can see a very young India,
Yeah,
upcoming budding filmmakers. So can we clap for each other?
बहुत बढ़िया।
Now my question to you is that you are a content creator,
Yeah.
okay? Storytelling is the basic instinct. Oh, sorry.
I'm Deepak. I stay in Goa and work in Mumbai, so that's why.
You are a content creator. Storytelling is a basic instinct. What my question is, as we are content creators, you used a word earlier, being responsible. See, Swanta Sukhai is one of the concepts that writers use. मैं अपनी मस्ती में खुश हूँ, मशगूल हूँ, मैं जो चाहिए मैं बोलूँगा, ठीक है, वहाँ तक सीमित है. But there is something called सहहित, समाज का हित. Because we express ourselves what we want to say, as content creators, but where is that thin line, when we say, because again, human being is a social animal.
Yeah.
मुझे जो अच्छा लगता है सामने वालों को दर्द दे सकता है, so दर्द बांटना क्या ठीक रहेगा क्या? So where is that thin line, how are we, because we are content creators, there are a lot of other opened up platforms, censored word, good night, otherwise we have a CBFC, so here it is all good night. So how are we responsibly putting our content और जो मुझे कहना है वो करना चाहिए?
So, one simple, again, there's no rule of thumb, but one simple hack would be to just follow the rule that civilization is attempting to, which is, how do I create more resources for more people, more equality for more people, more equitability for more people? If my content is already punching down on the people who don't have resources, if my content is already creating hatred that already festers within society, if your content is already looking at bigotry and looking at preconceived notions about certain groups and reinforcing them, that is that conversation really helping people get out of the situation they are in? On the stage of civilization, storytellers have a very, very interesting position. They not only have the opportunity to stand on stage and speak, but they are only ones who know how to. They are the most articulate and the most well-read. And their job is to basically find that those 5 minutes that they have on stage, talking to everyone. How do I add to the conversation in a way that that is one purely my own addition? If I get up on stage and I tell someone, hey, yeah, whatever that person said, copy paste. How do I not do that? How do I, at the same time, leave the audience in a better position? Leave every last member of the audience in a better position. And the simple rule to follow there is go bottom up, not top down. Trickle down economics, trickle down systems don't work. You don't make the rich happier, you start making the most underprivileged, give them more opportunities with your stories. You start representing them. You don't need white saviors, you don't need upper caste men saving the day. That's not how the world works. You start creating aspirations for people, that this is who you can be and this is who you should not be. And hopefully, if your work resonates with them, perhaps the conversation will shift into a direction that helps more people. If you still choose to come up on stage and say, do what the prior thing you said, which is I'm doing this for my own fun, I'm doing this because I enjoy the story, that's great. But that's great in a society where a lot of people have already come up on stage and made the world a better place. In a place where there is, in a time, especially in a time of non-science like the post-pandemic times, we do not have the luxury of that, in my opinion.
So मानव अभ्यास का जो इसे एंथ्रोपोलॉजी कहते हैं, मानव अभ्यास को एंथ्रोपोलॉजी कहते हैं, और
उसकी एक स्कॉलर मार्गरेट मीड को एक स्टूडेंट ने एक दिन पूछा कि मैडम आप जब पुरातत्व में पुरानी शैलियों में पुराने समाजों का इतिहास जब ढूंढती है तो आप ये कैसे तय करती है, कैसे ये तय हो पाता है कि कोई बीता हुआ समाज कभी आधुनिक रहा, कभी आधुनिक हुआ था, कभी विकसित था। तो वो स्टूडेंट की कल्पना में स्टूडेंट हैड इमेजिन दैट शी वुड रिस्पॉन्ड विद सेइंग दैट it's a finding of tools or weapons
or a pottery wheel,
वही कि मतलब औजार या पहिए मिलेंगे तो उसे तय हो पाता है कि कोई पिछड़ा समाज कभी आधुनिक हुआ करता था। पर मार्गरेट मीड ने कहा कि सबसे पहला संकेत है ये तय कर पुरातत्व में सबसे पहला संकेत है ये तय कर पाने में कि कोई पिछड़ा हुआ समाज कोई बीता हुआ समाज कभी आधुनिक था, ये तय करने पाने की सबसे पहला क्लू है एक टूट के जुड़ी हुई जान की हड्डी का मिलना। और किसी भी जानवर में या किसी primitive society में अगर किसी की जान की हड्डी टूट जाए, somebody breaks a femur bone, they can't run from danger, खतरे से भाग नहीं सकते, अपनी खुराक नहीं ढूंढ सकते, तो मर ही जाता है प्राणी। सिर्फ आधुनिक समाज में ये मुमकिन है कि बाकी के लोग मिलकर उस इंसान की देखभाल करेंगे, उसका ध्यान रखेंगे, उसका ख्याल रखेंगे 1 साल के लिए, और वो 3 लोग जो उसका ख्याल रखेंगे वो कंट्रीब्यूट नहीं कर पाएंगे प्रोडक्शन में क्योंकि वो किसी का ख्याल रख रहे हैं। तो वो 3 या 4 लोगों की रोज की खुराक, उनकी देखभाल पूरा समाज करेगा। ये एक आधुनिक समाज की पहली सीढ़ी है। सो जैसे ज़ेन ने कहा कि अगर हम एक आधुनिक समाज बनना चाहते हैं तो हमें अंत का उदय करना होगा, जो आखिरी इंसान है हमें ये समझना होगा कि हर कलाकार की जिम्मेदारी ये है, हर कहानीकार की शायद जिम्मेदारी ये है कहीं ना कहीं। और आपने जो कहा कि एक तो खुद की खुशी है और दूसरा एक गीत है, उसके बीच का रास्ता इस तो सत्संग है, कंसेंसस सत्संग। Let's get together and have discourses. ये जो हो रहा है वो सत्संग हो रहा है ना। सत्संग और क्या है, इसी को सत्संग कहते हैं कि हम सब सत्य का संग, हम ट्रुथ बोलने वाले, ट्रुथ सीख करने वाले, सत्य की खोज में निकले हुए लोग एक दूसरे के साथ मिलकर ये समारोह कर रहे हैं, ये एक संवाद कर रहे हैं। बस ये अगर होता रहा तो भी हम आगे बढ़ते जाएंगे।
Hi, my name is Farigul Sharia, right at the back.
Okay, hi.
Yeah, hi. So, I think one of the said about.
Oh, sorry, इन्होंने
एक सवाल शुरू करते हैं, आप एक पास माइक लेके आ जाएंगे तुरंत
I won't
ही।
take now, yeah.
सॉरी आपका नाम?
My name is Farigul Sharia. I'm from Bollywood Nama. So, one of the gentlemen spoke about Gandhi and how a foreigner had to make a film on him. So, we live at a time when the entire idea of what Gandhi stood for is being questioned, and the entire idea of freedom is being questioned as well. At the same time, like diverse voices is I think wonderful, but the way many a times even Bhagat Singh or say Subhash Chandra Bose, the way they are projected, people have not read their books because they stood for something completely opposite of what maybe at times people fight for. So how do you look at these diverse sort of opinions and this entire nullification of truth in a way? Truth, by truth I mean what is already documented in books and it is being propagated through movies as well now.
यार सत्य तो सिंथेसिस है यार। आपके सवाल में कुछ बात ज़रूरी है, एक अच्छा सवाल है कि सत्य की परिभाषाएं बार-बार बदली जाती है और नए लोग बार बार जो पुराने सत्य हैं उस पर प्रश्न उठाएंगे, पर सत्य कोई स्थिर तो नहीं है, वो तो रोज ग्रो हो रहा है। हमारे यहाँ पे भगत सिंह के बारे में ही इतने सारे सत्य हैं, और सारे सत्य सच हैं। जैसे मैं हाथी की बात कर रहा था कि एक भगत सिंह है जो सर पे कफन बांध के हीरो की तरह घुस जाता है पोस्टर फाड़ के, एक भगत सिंह है जो हु इज एन इंटेलेक्चुअल हेवीवेट। आप कौन से समाज में, कौन सी कम्युनिटी में जाके कौन से भगत सिंह की कहानी सुनोगे तो आपको अलग अलग कहानियां सुनने मिलेगी। यहाँ पे शैली है। मैं आपके सवाल को डाल नहीं रहा हूँ, मैं आ रहा हूँ आपके सवाल पे।
तो I'm saying at least read his book and just find out
बिल्कुल
what is
बिल्कुल, बहुत जरूरी है। नहीं आप, पर यही बात है ना, रीड तो मतलब is the kind of privilege that we have not yet had as a civilization, as a society। हमारे यहाँ पे अभी भी हम तो नई टेक्नोलॉजी की बात कर रहे हैं, हम फोन की या 4G की या हम गेमिफिकेशन की बात कर रहे हैं, तो बहुत ही आधुनिक बातें कर रहे हैं, पर हमारे यहाँ पे अभी तक पानी नहीं आया है, अक्षर नहीं आए हैं। तो वो कॉन्स्टेंटली सत्संग का मतलब ही है कि सबको साथ में लेके चलना होगा। कि वो मैं उस घर से आता हूँ, मैं 14 साल की उम्र तक एक झोपड़ी में रहता था, मैं वहाँ से निकला हूँ, कहीं और गया हूँ, and the realization that I have come upon again and again, is that वैसे मेरे एक मित्र ने आपके साथ एक बहुत सालों पहले एक इंटरव्यू किया था, वो मुझे किसी ने भेजा था।
मैंने आपके साथ भी किया हो।
अच्छा हाँ, मेरे और किरण के साथ किया ही था आपने। एक वैसे मेरे मेरा उल्लेख था, इसलिए इसने भेजा मुझे। तो मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि ये बहुत ज़रूरी है, आप जो कह रहे हो बहुत ज़रूरी है, पर एक तो मुझे ये नहीं लगता कि हमें ये सोच लेना चाहिए कि कोई एक जन आके सवाल उठा रहा है किसी प्रकार का, तो वो पूरी एक सत्य पे एक डेंजर है। लोग बोलते हैं, लोग आके चीज़ें बोलते हैं, जिसको स्टेज दिया है हमने, जिसको माइक दिया है हमने, वो आके अपने आप को व्यक्त करेंगे। हम कह सकते हैं कि भाई इनको माइक मत दीजिए नेक्स्ट टाइम। तो ये समाज को सोचना है साथ में मिलके, ये सत्संग से सोचना है हमें कि हमें सत्संग करना है या हमें ऐसे लोगों को सिर्फ सेंटर पे लाके मीम्स बनाने हैं सिर्फ, और उसमें खुश रहना है। तो ये एक अच्छा सवाल है, पर मुझे लगता है कि उसका जवाब बहुत आसान नहीं है कि कैसे लोगों को कैसे ये जवाब दिया जाए कि हाँ सबको पढ़ना चाहिए। जो पढ़ सकता है उसे तो पढ़ना ही चाहिए, जो सोच सकता है उसे तो सोचना ही चाहिए, जो देख सकता है उसे देखना ही चाहिए। पर फेक न्यूज़ जो है, जो मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन है जो दुनिया में फैली हुई है आज की तारीख में, कि इन्फॉर्मेशन जो है व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप्स पे आ गई है, जो ज्ञान और अभ्यास की बात कर रहे हैं, वो उसके बहुत बड़े चैलेंजेस है आज के सामने। उसके सॉल्यूशंस हमारे पास इमीडिएटली तो नहीं आने वाले हैं, हमें मिलकर इनके सॉल्यूशंस ढूंढने पड़ेंगे डेफिनेटली, हमें साथ में मिलकर, और हमें एज ए सोसाइटी इवॉल्व होना पड़ेगा। हमें बार बार एक दूसरे को याद दिलाना पड़ेगा कि यार हम सब हैं, यहीं हैं, कुछ गया नहीं है, यहीं हैं, हम साथ में हैं, साथ में मिलके जुड़ेंगे, रहेंगे, आगे बढ़ेंगे, सीखते रहेंगे, और जो नफरत फैलाता है उसे हम दूसरी बार माइक नहीं देंगे।
हेलो, नमस्कार, मेरा नाम दशरथ कचरावत है और मैं कुछ लाइनें कला के ऊपर बोलना चाहूँगा। कला, कल्पना, आराधना से प्रकट हुई ये रचना अनित्यति, चिरकालीन, चिरस्थायी, अनुपम, लौकिक, अलौकिक है। ये सौंदर्य की वंदना वंदनीय है। तक दिनादिन रुद्र रूप धानी शिव जी का तांडव, मधुर मधुर कृष्ण की बांसुरी, छम छम करती राधा का नृत्य, मीरा के भजन संत की वाणी है। ये 7 सुर 7 रंग 9 रस में डूबी, इसकी सीमा अपरंपार है। कोई भी मुल्क इसे अपनी सरहद में बांध नहीं सकता और ना ही ये किसी धर्म मजहब की बंधक है। ये तो स्वतंत्र, आजाद, अश्मणीय, आबाद है। इसे जो भी अपना ले ये उसमें रचने बसने सजने लगती है, झूमने लगती है, गाने लगती है। जिसके सामने बैठकर आवाम तालियां बजाता है, सीटियां बजाता है, अपनी खुशी का इजहार करता है। ये वो कला है जो दिल को बहलाती है, दिमाग को सहलाती है, तन और मन को गुदगुदाती है। तो जैसे आपने सत्संग की बात कही, तो सत्य है, चाहे वो प्राचीन काल का हो या आधुनिक काल का हो। सत्य असत्य कभी हो ही नहीं सकता, सक्षम कभी अक्षम हो ही नहीं सकता। तो सत्य चलता आ रहा, और ये सत्य है, यही सत्य संग है जो मानव जाति का। जैसे मैं आपसे इंप्रेस हूँ, गांधी साहब ने बहुत अच्छी बातें बताई हैं और बहुत अच्छे डिस्कशन यहाँ कन्वर्सेशन चल रहा है। तो रही इंडिपेंडेंट की बात, तो इंडिपेंडेंट के ऊपर कुछ लाइनें मैं बताता हूँ जो सर, 1 मिनट सर, 1 मिनट।
अरे नहीं यार, अरे कोई बात नहीं, सुनाइए कलाकार है आप,
जब आप बोल रहे
चलो
हो
सुनाइए,
आप सुनिए।
बढ़िया बढ़िया।
We are here to listen to them.
नहीं ये सर सुनिए, आप सुनिए।
अरे एक बार एक सुन लेते हैं, एक सुन लेते हैं।
एक सुन लीजिए सर। आजादी के बाद की कहानी। आजादी की पहली जंजीर तोड़ी मंगल पांडे ने, हैदर अली ने जड़ें हिला दी अंग्रेजी सरकार की, गूंज रही है झंकार अभी टीपू के तलवार की। नाना पटनीस ने कभी तक हार न मानी, लड़ते लड़ते अमर हुई मर्दानी झांसी की रानी। पटियाला के उधम सिंह की है बड़ी कहानी, जिसके नाम से बंधी है जलियान बाग की दास्तान हमारी। लेकिन जिन पूर्वजों ने हमारे कुर्बानी दी है, वो आजादी कहाँ है? दिल्ली के गलियारों में जाकर लुप्त हो गई है सर। और हमारे पूर्वजों ने जो कुर्बानी दी है, वो कुर्बानी का नतीजा क्या है? गोरों से हमें आजादी मिली और कालों ने फिर इस आजादी को बांध दिया। देश अभी भी ठीक है, गुलाम तो नहीं है, कहीं सक्षम भी है, कहीं अक्षम भी है, लेकिन 75 सालों में अभी तक इतना सक्षम होना चाहिए था, उतना सक्षम नहीं हुआ है जितना होना चाहिए था।
बिल्कुल, और इसीलिए इन युवाओं को यहाँ पे हाजिर किया आपके सामने।
बहुत अच्छा किया आपने। ये युवा लोग ही आएंगे और ये एक नया काम करेंगे और इसको कामयाब करेंगे।
बिल्कुल,
और करना भी चाहिए।
बिल्कुल, और हमने
इस पर हमारे पूर्वजों ने एक सपना देखा था, एकता का, अखंडता का, संपूर्ण समाज का।
I want to respond to both of you in the same breath, and I think Abhishek can help me respond to this. It's a very difficult
ये नए
question.
जनरेशन को आना ही चाहिए और करना भी चाहिए, नई चीज बननी चाहिए।
It's a very interesting question that, or thread that both of you have opened up, which is when we talk about our stories, there is, of course, erasure or an attempt of erasure of certain ideologies. But a good way of analyzing how can a Bose and a Gandhi coexist and fight for the same cause and look at completely different ways of approaching the same end goal is the same question we started asking 2 years ago. And the answer we arrived at is let's try and create the situations that they were in. Let's try creating the same pressure, the same resources that they had and they didn't have. And let's put players in those situations, in those shoes. And with that thought, we started building Shasan Azadi, which throws you into freedom struggles as the freedom fighter. And there are 8 revolutions that you can fight across. Everything from the American Revolution, French Revolution, Tahrir Square, Indian independence, to a hypothetical struggle happening on Mars 50 years from now. Rama, do you want to respond to how you built that, what are the choices that players can make, and how it gives you an insight into what happened then?
So first I'd actually like to say why it's important to even tell this story. It's important to tell the story of freedom 75 years later, because the challenges we face today require great cooperation. The biggest challenge we face today as a civilization is that of the ongoing climate crisis. It's already happening around us and we don't have a solution for it yet. By telling these stories of freedom fighters working together across the political spectrum, across beliefs, across boundaries of religion, caste, race, will give us an answer to how can we deal with the problems today, which require even greater cooperation. And the way it would work in the game is that the game allows you to relive and rewrite histories. The game lets you make choices. It will place you in the shoes of George Washington fighting for American independence, and instead of an armed rebellion, you could choose to follow the path of Satyagraha. It lets you ask a what if. What if your freedom struggle was different? What if your nation was different? And we do that in the game by recreating these historical situations and giving players a choice. They can either follow the path of history or forge their own. And in that choice, you can learn a lot more about what was, what is, and what could happen.
And one more point on to add to that is what films, games allow us to do is condense time into very small capsules. If I were to tell you that, like we tell our children, do this and for 20 years, and you'll have a good paying job, and perhaps if you're at the top of your class throughout your life, you might be able to buy a small house in Bombay. Just perhaps. Now what if I could, now our biology is not hard, doesn't understand 20-year time spans. There was a time where the average lifespan of humans was 25 years of age. So we don't think in 20-year timelines, we think in 20-minute timelines or 2-day timelines. What games and films allow us to do is take 10 years, 50 years, 100 years of cause and effect of, if you do this, this will happen, and condense it into 2 hours. And you keep doing that again and again, and you see what fruits your actions bear. You see how your actions pan out over long spans of time, and that's how you figure out that climate change is not the problem of 2 generations down. Climate change is our problem. The same applies for every other problem of ours. And how do you start solving problems in real time instead of saying maybe the next generation will be smarter than us?
I want to ask a question. It is very difficult to, through the stories, we all know it's very difficult to demonstrate the metaphysical realities of life. And through gaming, I think it must be much more difficult to demonstrate the metaphysical realities. Suppose, for instance, an example, if someone is, suppose, how do we teach or how do we demonstrate through a game that it's important to contribute through life rather than the consumeristic mindset that we are in. We all want to hold on to life, but it's very difficult to realize that life is all about giving. So how difficult is that process as content creators, as game creators? How difficult is that process of demonstrating metaphysical realities in life, of life?
You should have what?
Yeah, that's a great question actually, and this actually points to the unique strength of games. The thing is that other mediums like cinema, literature even tend to be very prescriptive. आप एक किताब पढ़ सकते हो जिसका moral of the story है, और हम मतलब बचपन में पढ़ते हैं, all our children's stories, Aesop's fables are about these different values that we're supposed to learn. किताब आपको बोल सकती है कि जो भी करो, किसी को अगर कुछ जरूरत होगी आप दे दो अगर हो सके तो. You listen to the story, you can have a cinematic experience where you kind of also experience this over whatever an hour and a half. But the problem is that it remains prescriptive. You are being told what to do, and that behavior is not coming from you, within you. That is where games come in. Now games are a lot of things, and we've spent a lot of time understanding how the medium works and what the medium is capable of. I'd like to just point one more thing that games can do. They can literally, you can design behavior through games. So when we talk about game design, we're not just talking about the story, and that's a very important part of it that Abhishek explained in great detail, which is the relevance of that. But you're also designing mechanics, and those are the tools of games. जैसे सिनेमा में shots होते हैं, cuts होते हैं, मतलब they all elicit different moods, different emotions. एक grammar, cinematic grammar है जो कि हमें समझ आता है. We are all, film consumers, filmmakers, so we realize what a montage means. We realize what a match cut means. Similarly, games use the language of mechanics to do that. And what those do is, they interact with each other to place you in unique situations where you are forced to make a choice. So agar aap, and that is a very noble insight that everybody should aspire to pass on to all of their neighbors, friends and children, that you should not be selfish if possible. And this also ties into one of the core design principles of Azadi in a very interesting way. Azadi is not a fully cooperative game, even though the need for our planet right now is cooperation. Azadi is not just a game about revolution, it's a game about the birth of a nation. Once your country is independent, if you are successful, now your fellow revolutionaries are your political competitors. At the end, एक ही इंसान जीतने वाला है. तो it's a semi-cooperative game. कि आप एक साथ काम करोगे ब्रिटिश को हराने के लिए, पर उसके बाद क्या? उसके बाद मतलब राज कौन करने वाला है? So the game forces you to make choices. It places you in situations. It creates pressures on you through mechanics. You have the imperial forces attacking you. You have resources that need to be committed to the freedom struggle. You have friends who need your help, and yet you need to watch out for your own self-interest. Now, when you are experiencing these multiple pressures at the same time, you get to decide how you want to do it. And there, if you make the decision to be selfish, you also suffer the consequences of it. We see this time and again. Anybody who hogs the sort of power for themselves at the get-go is immediately shunned by their fellow players later. क्योंकि जब आज़ादी मिल जाती है, सबको याद रहता है, जब मेरे को ज़रूरत थी इस रिसोर्स की, तूने मेरे को ना बोला, अब तू देख. So games can create that possibility for you to have these epiphanies by yourself, and that makes it an interactive medium where the experiences that you live and the insights that you walk away with have, the possibility of staying with you longer.
You know, on that note, Mandir is working on a very, very interesting style of game. It's called a role-playing game. It's basically where the players come together and tell a story together. They create a story scene by scene by scene and live through that story as characters. Mandir, you want to talk about how?
Mandir, also do a survey for me to see how many people have ever played an RPG.
How many people here know what a role-playing game is? Okay, great. How many people here have played a role-playing game? Okay, great.
But not an MMO.
Yeah. Like a tabletop board, a board game RPG. I guess the most famous one is probably Dungeons and Dragons, which maybe some of you have heard of. So it is a fairly novel software of playing games because it's different from board games that we are used to. It's more close to video games. It's just that it's not virtual, it's analog. And in fact, to add to kind of answer the question that you asked and to add to what Ayush said, Ayush said that stories are prescriptive and you can read from them and you can learn from them, but at the end of the day, it still comes from outside. I think while that is true, and I think maybe the solution here is to combine stories and games, and that's why games are a great way to tell stories. We have a vast, rich, beautiful history of full of insights and knowledge and wisdom that is, honestly, I only got into the Indian epics very recently, and I was mind blown. I mean, I had grown up hearing of these stories from my grandmom and from, like the Mahabharata TV show and all. But actually reading the books and actually learning more about our history and our past made me realize that there's just so many more facets to it than we are taught or than we are used to. And there's just so many more perspectives that are difficult, that are not accessible to us. And so, combining that with a role-playing game, where you are able to embody a person who lived in that time. You get to live those stories, you get to live the events that took place in the Indian epics, you get to experience the landscapes, the people, the characters, the magical events, the non-magical events, all of it. And within that you get to make choices. And so these choices, even though are drawn from a prescriptive medium, are actually coming from within. And what you said about metaphysical realities and metaphysical questions, it's actually very difficult. I mean, the biggest questions as a civilization that we still haven't answered are all metaphysical. That's because they are beyond physics, they are metaphysics. And it is difficult to pinpoint them because the possibilities are endless, and that's kind of what role-playing games also allow for. The possibilities are endless because you are embodying a new person, a new character, and you get to play that and you get to make those choices. And you can be a god, you can be a lay person, you can be an animal, and you can just enjoy your life. And through that you can have emergent definitions of what metaphysical, what it means to, what consciousness is, what it means to die, because dying in a game is obviously very different from dying in so maybe, well, we don't know, possibilities are endless.
So, Mandir, quick question. You're talking about co-authoring your stories with the audience, right? You're going to co-author stories. So can you give an example of what that might look like? Again,
Yeah, what does it look like? Because
many
I
of us
don't
have not
imagine like a lot of things
right?
that she says.
Right. So co-authoring is actually that's a very interesting point. And basically an RPG has a DM. A DM is like a sutradhar. If any of you are familiar with the Mahabharata TV show on Doordarshan, there would be the voice that would say, "Main samay hu." And the Samay Wood basically was an overseer, was I guess we could say a godlike figure in the story, where Samay time knew what was happening, knew well there was no past and present, it's time, it's everywhere. So it knew everything that was happening, had happened, is going to happen, and was basically the narrator. So in an RPG we have a DM, the full form of which is Dungeon Master. And basically you co-create the story. So there is one DM and there's a party. Party is whoever, the group of people who are now going to enter this world. And together with the DM and with the players, you create the story where, if I am the DM, I might say, okay, this is a setting,
So let's jump into a story that everyone knows of. And what does choice look like when you co-create? Give us an example.
Okay, a story that everyone might know of. Well, I guess the most common story that everyone might know of is the gambling game that happens in the Mahabharata.
Yeah.
Or maybe the war. The war everyone knows of. The Kurukshetra war. Or even, I guess, let's go to the war.
Yeah.
So the Kurukshetra war that happens between the Pandavas and the Kauravas. Let's say you are playing as the Pandavas. The choices that you make would be, I'm guessing most of you have heard of the Chakravyuh. So a vyuha is basically a battle formation. So a choice in such a game would be, where you with your party, let's say Ayush, Lama, me and Zen, and in the party, and we have to figure out how to defeat the Kauravas. So we have to strategize and figure out a battle formation, a vyuha. So we might discuss that, they have 10 people in their party, we have 4 people, how do you think we should stand, and what should our strategy be like? Should we attack, should we defend, should we go rogue and just cheat?
Or perhaps maybe play the second time, and this time around you are fighting from the Kaurava side and you get to understand their vantage point. And as the story progresses, you keep shifting vantage points, you keep realizing what the multifaceted story looks like.
Yeah, exactly.
For those of you who are clueless about how this works, these guys sit around a table and do all of this, by the way. It's not like nobody's entering a battlefield, and it's literally, I had an RPG experience recently, it blew my mind. I was like, why didn't I know this all my life? It was just so incredible, and it's a medium that's going to be everywhere. It's the medium that the next generation is going to be telling their stories with. That's for certain. I mean, I don't know how many of you know Roblox? So fascinating.
Yeah, Minecraft.
At least there are some pockets in this world where our work is more known than Roblox and Minecraft. I feel very proud about that. But so there is an entire new language that's emerging. The spoken human language took thousands of years to evolve. It, in fact, co-evolved with the human brain. And then the written language took another hundreds of thousands of years to evolve. In fact, it's as recent as just a couple of thousand years old. Printed word, 300 years old. Painting, 500 years old. Photography, 150, 200 years old. Motion picture, 100 years old. A very new media. The most recent medium is what we're talking about. I mean, Mandir and Zain and Abhishek and Ayush here are really the Pudovkins and Eisensteins and Falkes of this medium. They are inventing they're writing grammar, they're Paninis of this new grammar. They're writing a new grammar as it's evolving, and this is the first glimpse that I'm having of all of it together with people.
Yeah. And you have, on Roblox, on Minecraft, you have 12 years old, 15 years old, telling their story, telling their satya, through creating a game by tools that other people have created. So what Mandir and I and everyone else building the RPG together are doing, are creating a platform where all of you can come together and tell your story, and perhaps create your story with your audience simultaneously. And that's something that hasn't been possible till recently.
So I can't wait to play Mandir's game as and when it happens, and I'm sure all of you feel similarly after hearing us speak about it. And thank you so much everyone for showing up. Thank you for inviting us over here, Ifi. Hopefully we didn't ruffle too many feathers. We were all fine. We were all well behaved.
Yeah.
नमस्ते सर, थैंक यू फॉर इस इंटरेक्शन के लिए।
जी
सर, जो आप यहाँ पे बोलते हैं एंड वी एज न्यू फिल्म मेकर्स वी फॉलो दैट, सो दैट हेल्प्स अस डिसाइड कि हमें आगे क्या रोल लेना है। अगर मैंने मिसअंडरस्टूड नहीं किया इनिशियली यू वर सेइंग कि जो गेमिंग है ये फिल्म मेकिंग की, सिनेमा और मोशन पिक्चर की अगली सीढ़ी है
जी।
सो आई वांट टू अंडरस्टैंड ये अगली सीढ़ी है या ये पैरेलल मीडियम है, बिकॉज गेमिंग से क्या होता है कि गेमिंग गिव्स यू लाइक फर्स्ट हैंड सेल्फ एक्सपीरियंस कि आपको किस सिचुएशन में कैसे डील करना है चीज़ों को लेके, बट सिनेमा गिव्स यू वो अपना खुद का एक्सपीरियंस आपको देता है, बट इट आल्सो अलाउज यू टू एक्सपीरियंस कि अगला इंसान इन द सेम सिचुएशन बट दे कैन ही और शी कैन फील. So I just wanted to understand if I have heard it wrong या
नहीं, आपका सवाल बहुत सही सवाल है, बहुत ही खूबसूरत सवाल है.
Thank you.
आप एक एम्पैथी टूल की बात कर रहे हो जो सिनेमा है. ये सिनेमा आप में एम्पैथी इवोक करता है. आप देखते हो कि अच्छा जिस इंसान के बारे में मैं ये सोचता था अब तक या सोचती थी वो तो ऐसा है. अच्छा मेरे जो मित्र हैं जिनसे मेरी लड़ाई हुई थी उसमें तो शायद मैं गलत था क्योंकि ये जो है सही कह रहे हैं और मेरे मित्र भी यही कह रहे थे. तो वो एक एम्पैथी टूल बन जाता है. वो बहुत ही अच्छा टूल है. और क्या गेम्स एम्पैथी जनरेट कर सकते हैं? क्या गेम्स आपको औरों के दर्शन से देखने के लिए मजबूर कर सकती है? ये प्रश्न है आपका. और उस दर्शन से क्या आपका हृदय पलट हो सकता है? तो ये इसका सिंगल शब्द का जवाब ये है कि हाँ ये हो सकता है, गेम्स में भी हो सकता है. पर क्या ये पैरेलल मीडियम है, नई सीढ़ी है? इसका तो यार हम as a species, humans as a species, do not let go of media of insight sharing that we invented. Video did not kill the radio star. Radio made a comeback as podcast. Theater, cinema, art, literature, design, games. What is the function of that? यहाँ पे मुझे बहुत सारे युवा मिलते हैं, मुझे कहते हैं कि हमें फिल्म बनानी है. बहुत अच्छी बात है, आप कुछ कहना चाहते हो. पर क्या कहना चाहते हो, क्यों कहना चाहते हो? जो आयुष ने पहले कहा कि क्या जरूरत है वो कहने की, क्या जल्दबाजी क्यों है वो कहने की? क्योंकि आपको इसलिए कहना है क्योंकि आपको लगता है कि जो कहता है उसको माइक मिलता है, या आपको इसलिए कहना है कि वो कहने की जरूरत है बहुत ज्यादा और बहुत जल्द उस बात को व्यक्त करने की जरूरत है? इस सवाल का आप जवाब पहले ढूंढिए, फिर उस सवाल का जवाब बहुत ही आसान हो जाएगा. दूसरे सवाल का जवाब कि उसका माध्यम क्या है? क्या उसका माध्यम एक किताब है, क्या उसका माध्यम एक फिल्म है, क्या उसका माध्यम एक गेम है? उसका जवाब आपको मिलने लगेगा कि आपको क्या कहना है, क्यों कहना है, किस जल्दबाजी के साथ कहना है, कितने लोगों की जिंदगी को इम्पैक्ट करना है, क्यों करना है, कैसे करना है. ये जब आपने इन प्रश्नों के जवाब आपने जवाब ढूंढ लिए तो उसके बाद जो है कि माध्यम कौन सा है, जैसे ज़ेन ने कहा कि मैं मीडियम एग्नोस्टिक हूं, कि माध्यम तो आते जाते रहते हैं, है ना. मैं कह रहा था कि कबीर जो है, if Kabir was around, he would have perhaps not only been a poet, he may have been a game designer or a filmmaker. I don't say it casually, I mean it very deeply. I mean it very, very profoundly. If you know, I can say that about my own words. But I mean that deeply. I mean that I arrived at that insight through a deep investigation. कि ये जो इंसान चाहते हैं, anyone who wants, whose aspiration is to transmit an insight, a way of looking at things that has solved something for themselves and people around them. And that's the reason why they want to send it forward. They will be medium agnostic. I'm also not married to film. I can change. And you have, for those of you who know me, know that I keep shifting every day, and people keep getting confused. Friends keep getting confused. तो ये filmmaker है या game designer है, या game producer है, या virtual reality करता है. I mean, how does it matter? It's like asking a fashion designer, भाई तुम स्विंगर के टेलर हो या फिलिप्स के टेलर हो? अरे ये तो मशीन है, फिल्म तो मशीन है.
And the same story can be told to multiple mediums. I'll give an example. So Vinay Shukla is here. Vinay and Khushbu made a film called An Insignificant Man.
कितने लोगों ने देखी An Insignificant Man यहाँ पे?
Yeah. So Vinay is there at the back. Hi Vinay. No, Vinay, Khushbu, they and also in the second film, they put themselves out there. They jump into the world, the real world, the outside which I don't venture into ever, and they find
the great outdoors.
The great outdoors, and they find stories. They look for people, for events, for organizations that are fascinating, that are intriguing and scary simultaneously, and they tell that story, and that story teaches me, and I get a very first-hand look into that process. Now, when I have the privilege or that access through a film that I've watched or through experiences that Vinay has shared, Khushbu has shared with me, my brain starts working in, okay, this system that you're talking about is very, very intriguing, it's very, very fascinating. Now, I have the privilege of being in the same room as you, but no one else does. So how do I translate this system to everyone else? And that's why I convert the same insights that I get from them into games. My insights in politics are not first hand. I've learned them from my friends, from political theorists, from people who are on the ground. And I say, okay, this is a great system, now let's make a game about it because I want people to explain it first hand. So the same story that you have can be told through multiple mediums. Some parts of the story are better told in some mediums, but stories can translate across mediums. And that's what we'll increasingly see. That is what everyone's calling the metaverse, of stories being told in multiple.
जी, I think आखिरी सवाल लेना हो कब से हम वहाँ पे इशारे किए जा रहे हैं वो जगह देख लो भाई
कब से इशारे किए जा रहे हैं? But this directly follows what has just been said.
Yes.
So I'm a philosopher and I'm a new filmmaker. I'm still in a lot of dilemma of in a generation that's about thumb stoppers and complete attention deficit. And you have put so much emphasis on a virtual reality here. Now, I want to know, as a generation, okay, this medium agnostic point was excellent, I'm sold, but how do we keep going? Like you said, the things that are happening in the game are something that you've learned from your political theorist friends. So even when you're saying that I get this meaningful choice in the game to create my own reality, how original is that? Because that game has also been designed by you, right? So I'm moving away and away. As soon as he said metaverse, I just had to jump in because I'm moving away and away from being mindful. Constantly we were taught in filmmaking that there's a structure, your protagonist will go through something and when the viewer is observing it, a change will happen in them through the system. But if it's already designed, if the options are already choreographed for me, just how much of authentic thinking am I doing?
So that's a great question, and the superficial answer might seem not a lot, but I have seen a few thousand games of Shashanki pan out over the last few years, and I have been surprised by the actions, by the things that players do on the game table, things that I hadn't designed for, things that I hadn't planned for. When you're designing, you're also designing for the player who might step out of the most optimal move that the game wants you to do. And that's what really keeps happening in game design. You keep seeing people, you create a system and emergent behavior jumps out of the system and at you. If you look at the newer ones, if you look at Roblox and Minecraft, you will see people creating things that the game designers would have never comprehended could have possibly been created using that medium. And that's what we see in board games, that's what we see in video games all the time. Yes.
And that's the purpose of, sorry, just to quickly add, because, and that's the purpose of creating any framework. The intention is, of course, not to kind of revolutionize thinking all the time. It's always about passing on tools of cognition, tools of comprehension, tools of insights, passing on algorithms of insight to the other. And that's what stories do, that's why cinema has been an empathy machine for the last century or so. And what the attempt there, and what the attempt continues to be, is to pass on cognitive tools. You can't do much carpentry with your bare hands, you can't do much thinking with your bare mind. To be able to do any kind of thinking, and any kind of free thinking for that matter, you need cognitive tools. And games, films, any kind of media that we exchange with each other, the intention is simultaneously to pass on insights, pass on anxieties, pass on wisdom, pass on warning signals, but also at the same time pass on tools of cognition. And that's what games do far more precisely and accurately than any other medium known to us till now.
Okay, I think we need.
Yeah, I think
thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
We are all active on our social media handles. Continue the conversation. You also be hanging on here for a bit.
Yeah.
Please reach out. Thank you so much.
So once again, Mandir, Zain, Abhishek, Ayush. If you guys want to look them up, you can look them up on Bemis Studios page, and then you will find out. One group photo. 1 minute. 1 minute. Excuse me. Come closer. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.